but you can see the brushes, they're not carbon, they're actually copper. You can't really see it properly through the gap through the gaps, but so I had to swap the motor out. Well, there's a problem though with that, because this motor has a DC impedance of 14 ohms DC when you measure it on the multimeter. And the motor that I put in is supposed to be a direct replacement. It's supposed to be identical, but it's not. The impedance of the motor that I put in there has an impedance of 20 ohms, a higher impedance. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and repair this one. So I'm going to pop the back off this and see if I can. It's not focusing very well. I'll use my hand, that's better. So if I can pop the back off this later on, I should be able to repair the brushes on it, because I want to salvage this one if I can, because this is the one I've been doing all my testing on. So what are the consequences of putting a higher impedance DC motor on the anti-drag generator? Well, the consequences are twofold. One is that it needs a higher voltage to run, because it's only running at 845 RPM. But on the plus side, it's only consuming 95 milliamps instead of 180 milliamps. So it's actually drawing 95 milliamps right now. And so if I put it on voltage, we're still at just over 6.5 volts. Basically what that means is I've got to turn my voltage up, which I didn't want to do, but because it's a different motor, anyway, I'll remember what the voltages are for later. So I'm going to bump the voltage up now to 6, 7, 8 volts. So I bumped it up to 8 volts. Our current should stabilise. It should settle down. We should see our RPM back up at 1200 RPM, and that is what happens when you swap out a motor and it's got a different DC impedance. Anyway, I'm going to wait until it gets up to basically the same RPM as what we had before, and then I'll turn the voltage back down a bit until we can match up with what readings I had earlier. So I'm just going to wait for this to get to about, what was it, 1300 I think it was. So let's get it down to, see if I can get it up to 1300 RPM, and then I'll adjust the voltage on the power supply. Obviously I know what the voltage is set when I put the other motor back in, but yeah. So the reason is you can tell it was the commutator is worn because it's clicking. Anyway, when I take this apart, I'll probably take some pictures of it or something so I can show you later, but let's just see if we can get this back to where it's supposed to be. Our current consumption is actually a lot lower, even though I bumped the voltage up on the power supply. Let's see, what are we at? We're barely getting to 1100, so let's see what current consumption there is on this end. So our current consumption is still low. It's about 110 milliamps, so I need to bump the voltage up a bit more. Let's see, we'll have to go up to 9 volts then, which is because the impedance is different on the motor. It's going to draw less current, so I've got to compensate by increasing the voltage a bit. It's probably not a bad thing really if it consumes less current but uses a high voltage. It might be beneficial, I don't know, we'll see anyway later. because my coils will be able to produce a lot more voltage. And I am very upset about the fact that that shielding, that foil that I ordered is not the right foil. I was really annoyed because that's another delay. It means I gotta wait another 3 weeks. Oh god, I don't know where I put it. Oh, it's down here. So yeah, I made a separate video about this, but I've messaged a different seller actually. I messaged another seller to ask them if they actually have the material as advertised, because there's another eBay seller selling iron based foil. Now the question is it another lie? Is it another deception? Because this is not iron, it's flipping aluminium or stainless steel. It's not iron, it's stainless steel or aluminium. I think there's a test you can do to find out what material it is, but I'll have to figure that out. Let's just hold it against my generator and feel it if there's any drag on it, because if there's any drag on there, nope, I can't feel anything at all on it. It should pulse, but there's nothing there. So it's either stainless steel or it's aluminium. I'm not sure. I could weigh it, I suppose, and determine what material it is by weighing it. Okay, so we're up to 1244. So and our current consumption is 110 milliamps. That's not bad. Well, I need to bump it up a bit more. Get the voltage on a minute. I want to be, let's see, 9.5 volts. Right. Alright, so let's see. See, this motor has got, it's supposed to be the same, but it's not. It's anyway, I want to try and fix the other motor anyway, so hopefully I can put that one back in again. But I didn't want to run it until, I didn't want to run this motor until the brushes completely wore out. I'll tell you why. That's because as long as there's some material on the brush, I can solder a piece of a bit more copper onto the material that's there. But once it wears down completely, it would mean replacing the entire strip of copper that's touching the commutator. Okay, we're actually back to where we should be, about RPM wise. That looks about right. It uses slightly high voltage to run it, but current consumption is lower. But it's relative though. Anyway, voltage and current are relative to each other. It's all about watts really. Obviously I haven't got anything to measure the watts on this, so, well, on the input side anyway. Yeah, I think that's about right. That's basically what it was, RPM wise. Seems to stabilise now. So yeah, that's pretty much what it was early this morning when I was testing it on the other motor. And our current consumption is 150? Oh, 125, is it, milliamps? Oh, let me see. No, hang on. Yeah, about 125 milliamps on the current consumption for the motor. So yeah, we'll just run it on this other motor for now, because we're stabilised we're about right what we were. This is what it was reading this morning when I was testing it. So anyway, we'll just have to run it on that motor for now, because I've got to pop the back off this. They're not difficult to get off. I mean, I've had the backs off these before, and it's a shame I can't really show you. Get the actual strips that come into contact with the commutator for them little slots, and can't really see anything down there actually at the moment. Yeah, so I don't know if I can show it clicking, but I can't even turn it. Actually, it just locks up on me when I turn it backwards. If I turn it anti-clockwise, it locks up because it's clicking. It's the commutator. The copper strips that are coming into contact with the commutator are getting stuck in the grooves of the commutator, and that's another reason I don't want to run it right now, because it'll just damage it. It'll start digging gouges in it. Yeah. So thought I'd let you know about this. I've had to change. I like to keep things consistent. I wore it out. Can't believe I wore this out. Hey, this is the new motor as well, which I only ordered last year. Well, they don't make them like they used to do. So what I could do is look on eBay. Look for some new carbon brushes with the. Or I could make some even. I could get a bit of thin carbon. I've got some kicking about somewhere. I could cut some thin carbon and stick it on with conductive paint onto the copper strips and make my own commutator carbon brushes. I could do that. Possibly. Would be a bit more lasting than using just a thin bit of copper that was already there, because I know what's in these. I've had them apart before, and basically it's just a bit of thin copper, and it wears out pretty quickly. Annoying, more work to do. Oh well. Anyway, that's it. It's just a little update on what's going on right now. I'm just fed up about this. Useless. Can't use it. It's no good. So I don't know if the eBay seller wants me to send it back, then he can pay postage, because it's not my fault. He sent me the wrong material. It's not my fault. He sent me the wrong material, so it's his problem, not mine. Anyway, bye for now.